Odysseus, one of the greatest heroes of Greek culture, began his long and arduous journey from his homeland, Ithaca, where he lived in a modest house by the sea with his beautiful wife Penelope and their son Telemachus. Though their family life was cozy and peaceful, Odysseus always felt a strange pull, a call from the vast ocean that he could not resist. As a great king who had led the Greek army during the Trojan War, Odysseus had proven his extraordinary intellect and strength. However, his famous victories and renown were not enough to quell his intense yearning for far-off adventures. Every time he looked out at the sea, an indescribable feeling arose within him. The ocean seemed to beckon him like an irresistible force, pulling his heart away from the peaceful home in Ithaca. This calm family life seemed insufficient to satisfy Odysseus's thirst for adventure. Penelope, his gentle yet resilient wife, always offered him boundless care and love. Telemachus, their son, was growing under his father's teachings, preparing for his role as a future leader. However, for Odysseus, despite family being the most precious thing in his life, the call of fate was inescapable. The sea, with its eternal waves and vast sky, was not just a challenge for him, it was a part of his destiny. Every time he gazed upon the vast, endless ocean before him, he felt a powerful urge, as though he were an inseparable part of it. He could not resist the call of distant journeys, even knowing that each trip would lead him into perilous trials, threatening not only his life but also the precious things he held dear. Odysseus was not the type of man easily contained by the comforts of a quiet life. Though he loved Penelope and cared deeply for Telemachus, his heart always sought something greater, a purpose beyond the confines of family and homeland. In moments of stillness, when standing alone by the shore, he could feel the call of the sea like a sound reverberating from the very depths of the universe. This urge made it impossible for him to remain content in the peaceful days of a father and husband. Though he knew a new journey would mean leaving behind loved ones, causing Penelope to worry and Telemachus to grow up without his father's presence, Odysseus could not resist this call. He believed he was born not to live a mundane life but to achieve great feats, embarking on endless journeys. The sea, with all its dangers and challenges, was what he had to face. It was a trial unlike any other, not just a means to new lands but a companion in the form of terrifying waves, an inseparable part of his very being. However, Odysseus's decision to leave was not an easy one. He spent many sleepless nights contemplating the sacrifices he would have to make. He knew there was no certainty of safety in these journeys. The sea could drown him in violent waves, and monsters could devour him without a second thought. But what made Odysseus strong was his faith in himself, his ability to overcome any challenge. No matter the obstacle, he always found a way to conquer it. And so, one day, with the decision made, Odysseus left Ithaca. The sea called, and he could not resist. From that moment on, his journey became legendary. The adventures Odysseus experienced were battles not only with enemies but also with himself. He had to face terrifying monsters, mighty gods, and bizarre trials that only his intellect and extraordinary strength could overcome. Odysseus's journey was not just a fight to reclaim honor and glory, but also a struggle to affirm his very identity. Every step he took on the vast sea, every island he landed on, was a new chapter in the story of a man's perseverance and determination to conquer every challenge in his path. Looking back on Odysseus's journey, it is not just a story of countless arduous adventures, but also a journey of self-discovery, a relentless struggle to maintain his resilience and faith in himself despite the temptations and hardships. Every encounter, every decision brought him closer to his ultimate goal, returning home to where his family awaited, where love and hope always drove him forward no matter the harshest trials life threw at him. Throughout his journey, Odysseus was not only seeking victory or glory but uncovering deeper values about himself and what he truly needed and wanted in life. This made his journey a symbol not just of courage but also of personal growth and self-awareness. When the drums of war sounded over Troy, it marked the beginning of a battle not only full of bloodshed but also full of schemes, cunning, and divine interventions. The strong and impregnable city of Troy became the target of the Greek army. This was not only a conflict between nations but also an intellectual duel between gods who often intervened to challenge the courage of the warriors and shift the course of the battle. Among all the Greek warriors, none stood out more for both wisdom and bravery than Odysseus, the king of Ithaca. When the Greek army set out to conquer Troy, all eyes were on him, not only for his strong leadership but also for his skill in strategic planning. Odysseus was not a warrior who could be defeated by sheer force. He knew that a prolonged battle like this could not be won through raw strength. This was why he became a strategist, a tactician who could shift the tides of battle just as easily as the gods on Mount Olympus. The war lasted 10 long years. 10 years of hardship, bloodshed, and constant battles. Each day that passed saw the Greek army growing more exhausted, as much from fighting external enemies as from the internal toll of fatigue and anxiety. The walls of Troy remained intact, impregnable like a fortress that could not be breached. Every attack by the Greek army failed, and every clash resulted in more bloodshed. Despite the Greek forces' strength and numbers, no method could break the resilience of Troy. As a warrior who had faced countless battles, Odysseus knew that this war could not be won through brute strength. Troy could not be defeated with conventional tactics. His mind began to think of more refined ways to fight, strategies that could lead them to victory without having to destroy all of Troy's forces. In that moment of deadlock, Odysseus, with his sharp intellect, conceived a plan no one could have anticipated: the legendary wooden horse. This plan was born in the heavy air of exhaustion. The Greek army no longer had the strength to continue the prolonged siege. They could not last much longer in this futile blockade, and Troy still refused to fall. With the insight of a strategist, Odysseus realized an important truth: sometimes victory comes not from overwhelming the enemy with power, but by striking at their psychology and trust. He proposed a bold idea: a massive wooden horse. The rationale behind this creation was simple yet extremely clever. The Greeks, after years of futile fighting, would build a giant wooden horse, creating the appearance of an offering of peace, a gift of surrender. They would leave this horse before the gates of Troy as a token of their retreat. The Trojans, overjoyed at the thought that the Greeks had given up, would bring the horse into their city, unaware that inside it were elite Greek soldiers waiting for the right moment to launch a surprise attack. The plan, though seemingly crazy and full of risk, worked like magic. That night, when the Trojans were asleep, celebrating their supposed victory, the soldiers hidden inside the horse quietly emerged and opened the gates of the city for the Greek army. The surprise was so great that the Trojans had no time to react, and Troy was swiftly brought down. It was the victory the Greeks had been waiting for after 10 long years. Yet, after this grand triumph, Odysseus did not feel the complete joy others experienced. He knew that every victory came with a price. When the Greek forces poured into Troy, spoils were shared, and warriors rejoiced at the fall of the ancient city they had fought to breach for so long. Yet, within Odysseus's heart, there was a lingering fear and unease no one could see. He knew that the price for this victory would not be immediate. It would be a steep price he would have to pay for the rest of his life. It was the cost of deception, of tricks, and of strategic maneuvers he had to employ. Although the victory at Troy was a monumental achievement, behind that glory lay unavoidable consequences. The Greek self-satisfaction and the joy of victory only made Odysseus feel more burdened. He knew that his great journey was not only a triumph on the battlefield but an ongoing confrontation with new challenges. Each victory brought with it new dangers. And what Odysseus clearly understood was that the endless war would never truly end for him. Even though Troy had fallen, another battle awaited him. If you enjoy thrilling stories like this and want to continue following inspiring journeys, make sure to subscribe to my channel so you never miss any future videos. Hit the subscribe button now and join me in exploring more amazing stories. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.